6th day of June, year 2022. It's a Monday. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for joining us today. And we are broadcasting live from Lipa City, Batangas. Medyo nag-change of scenery lang po tayo dahil medyo we need to see some green. Okay. And today we will be speaking to several guests here on the program, and our principal guest for the day will be none other than the veteran politician Tomas Osmeña of Cebu City. And we will find out. Let's catch up with our Kuya Tommy and find out how has life been after politics, because many people kind of wonder what happens to veteran politicians when they are ika nga nila out to pasture or momentarily resting or whatever. Let's find out from Sir Tommy Osmeña later. But before that, we will be speaking with our friend from the National Disaster Risk Reduction Management Council ba ang tawag doon? Our friend Mark Timbal, to find out what is happening in Sorsogon, particularly in the area surrounding Mount Bulusan, because as you may know, there were a number of eruptions or minor expelling of fumes and ash yesterday, and we will catch up with Mark Timbal. And of course, we also want to find out what is the state of HIV, AIDS, okay, in the Philippines, because everyone has been talking about monkeypox, and all the doctors have been saying, you might as well talk about AIDS because no one seems to be talking about it now. Monkeypox is still out in the jungles, so to speak. So we will discuss all of that. But first, let's go to our daily starter. And our daily starter for today, and a reminder for all of you, a bad attitude is like a flat tire. You won't go anywhere until you change it. Okay? So, para sa inyo, yung mga laging mainit ang ulo, baguhin nyo na ang ugali nyo. Doon sa inyo naman na lagi na lang Megatron, try to be a little more positive. As they say, as the book of James teaches us, what you speak gets life. Okay, so if you keep speaking positive things in your life, positive things happen. Hindi po yan sabi-sabi. I myself will testify to that when I changed my attitude, my life changed. Okay, so remember that a bad attitude is like a flat tire. You won't go anywhere until you change it. And for those of you who drive cars, you know that if you force driving a flat tire to get to the nearest vulcanizing shop or gasoline station, you will more likely end up with a busted tire, and it will cost you more. From the 100 peso patch, it will cost you a 5,000 peso tire. Same in life. Your bad attitude can cost you more. Okay, now let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star for a quick review of what is going on. And I was rather shocked this morning by the headline, Anti-Red Tape Chief Suspended Over Graft. Our regular guest here on agenda, none other than Director General Jeremiah Belhica of the Anti-Red Tape Authority, has been suspended for 6 months along with other officials of the ARTA regarding a decision they passed on telecoms. Okay, basahin nyo na lang po sa Philippine Star, but they were suspended for 6 months, and because the term of office is ending, they will most likely be paying a fine for the remainder, equivalent to 5 months. Dahil isang buwan na lang, so 5 months of their salaries, they will be paying as a fine to the Office of the Ombudsman. Okay, and at the top of the front page, Bongbong Marcos wants Sara to stress science, math, education. Presumptive President Bongbong Marcos, in his tweet, said that he wants Vice President Sara Duterte, who is the incoming Secretary of Education, to put emphasis on science and math education. That big photo at the top of the front page is a photograph of the community in Juban Town, Sorsogon, after Mount Bulusan erupted yesterday morning. Okay, yun po. Kitang-kita yung ash plume, parang malapi na tubo, but it was just ash, nothing big so far, but we'll catch up on that later. And the story, of course, is Bulusan spews ash, alert level 1 raised. And jeep drivers may stop operations this week. According to the pagkakaisa ng mga samahan ng Chuper at Operators Nationwide or Piston, they will most likely stop driving their jeepneys because they can no longer afford the prices of fuel. Ayan na po. So, malamang at malamang yung mga jeepney na magiging karinderya yan. Okay. And that big photo in the middle of the Philippine Star is a photo of your favorite pandesal in Dapitan, Manila yesterday, where bakers want to raise the price of tasty and pandesal. Yung tasty po, for those of you who may not be familiar, that was a very famous brand of sliced bread loaf, white bread. Okay, now they want to raise it by several pesos. Okay, so from by as much as 4 pesos. Okay, so that's what I have been saying here on Agenda. Some people are saying, yan si Kuya Cito, he talks about food crisis, national, food nationalism, etc. Ayan na po. Pagdating ng napakamahal na pagkain sa bahay ninyo, sasabihin nyo, ay, tama pala si Beltran. Okay, COMELEC, voter education needed despite automated polls. COMELEC spokesperson James Jimenez said that in spite of high voter turnout, many voters are still not familiar with how to fill their ballots and how to go about exercising their right to vote. Meanwhile, the Commission on Appointment affirmed the decision of the Regional Trial Court that convicted former General Jovito Palparan for kidnapping. Ayan po. So medyo tinuldukan ng Commission on Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal. So sorry. My bad. And then that photo is a child running past a mural depicting June 12, 1898, when the Philippines in Cavite declared independence from Spain. Last but not the least, the only good news so far, workers in 14 regions to get higher wages. Yun po, no? Workers in 14 regions to get higher wages, but it's not good news for the employers. But hey, pagbigyan nyo na yung mga empleyado, nagugutom na sila, ang gutom na worker hindi nagtatrabaho ng maayos. Okay, let's find out if we have Mark Timbal, NDRRMC spokesperson, on our line already. Mark, good morning to you.
Sir Cito, good morning, and to all our viewers, good morning po sa lahat.
Okay, Mark, just a quick update on what's happening on Mount Bulusan and in the vicinity of Juban and the areas there in Sorsogon. What's going on, my friend?
Yes, sir. The NDRRMC continues monitoring as well as the provision of services to assist the local government po who are responding to the affected communities. Kahapon nga po ay nagkaroon ng Priato eruption itong si Bulusan at around 10:30 in the morning, and a more than a kilometer tall column of ash was spewed from the mountain at dahil nga po, from the volcano, at dahil po westerly po ang direksyon ng hangin, bumagsak po ang abo na yan sa mga communities sa Irusin and Huban in Sorsogon. So far po in this morning's reporting, we're still consolidating the number of evacuees, pero the latest data po that I have is that we have more than 100 persons who have evacuated from Puting Sapa barangay in Huban, and these families are within the care of the local government unit disaster managers. Ang nakikita po natin ngayon that the local government units are now giving food and water to the affected citizens, and our counterparts in the Bureau of Fire Protection are proceeding with the cleaning activities. Binubugahan po ng tubig itong mga areas po na nabagsakan ng abo para magsimula na po paglilinis, Sir Cito.
Okay, so 100 persons, or was it 100 persons or 100
Yes.
families?
100 persons po
Okay.
ang huling count natin, sir. Yes.
So was this a surprise attack by Mount Bulusan, or was this expected? Did they get advance warning so that people were able to clear the area? Kasi I remember in Taal in 2019, if I'm not mistaken, when it erupted, a lot of people were, affected by the gas fumes, and hindi sila agad nakalayo. So what about in Sorsogon, in Bulusan?
So far, Sir Cito, kasi comparing it with Taal, mas violent talaga yung explosion ni Taal. Ano po? Si Bulusan kasi parang naglabas lang ng sama ng loob. Nagkaroon lang ng spewing of hot steam and ash na confined lang talaga doon sa danger zone. At dahil po doon wala naman parang nagtalsikan na malalaking bato or umagos na lava as far as I've heard. Kaya the danger was just within the immediate vicinity of the volcano and those areas kung saan nagkaroon po ng ashfall. So far wala tayong casualties, Sir Cito, at meron naman po kasi tayong contingency plan tungkol sa volcano emergency dyan sa Bulusan, at lahat po ng LGUs ay alam po yan. Na-discover po natin kahapon na may 14 hikers na naabutan ng pagputok. Doon po sa interview nung kasama natin sa pamahayag, sinabi po ng mga hikers hindi nila akalain na pumutok pala yung bulkan. Akala nila dumilim lang yung langit dahil uulan. But they were able to reach the safety of the municipality of Barcelona, and they're all safe and sound along with their guides.
Okay.
As of 2 days.
Okay, well, that's good news. No deaths, no injuries, and just a lot of cleaning up to do. But
That's
there's
correct.
always a positive side to that. Meron na sila ngayong libreng fertilizer, pampataba dyan sa kanilang mga pananim. Okay, thank you, Mr. Mark Timbal of the National Disaster Risk Ano na ba yan?
Reduction and Management Council.
Reduction. Lagi ako nabubulol sa'yo, Mark. Lunes na lunes, binulol mo na naman ako. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you, sir, and ingat po palagi. Good morning.
Okay. That's our friend Mark Timbal at the NDRRMC. And good to know that naglabas lang ng sama ng loob si Mount Bulusan. And now, let's go to our main event. Baga, para tong concert no? May front act ngayon. Atin na yung main event. Well, there is a saying that came to my mind as I was thinking of our next guest, where they say, old soldiers never die, they just fade away. I don't think this friend of ours is going to fade away just like that, especially how mercurial his temperament used to be. Pero let's find out as he calmed down. Let's bring in former mayor and veteran Cebu politician Tommy Osmeña. Sir, good morning sa imo.
Hi, good morning, Cito. I feel very awkward when you call me a veteran, no? Because I don't think of myself as a veteran. Ikaw ang veteran dyan, ako. I'm just an observer. No?
Yeah, but I've always come to you as an observer of Cebu politics. But now I get the feeling that Cebu politics and Cebu life may be taking a different direction, given how the incoming president reportedly has parang utang na loob to Cebuanos for helping him get elected as president. I'm referring, of course, to BBM. In your vast experience in local and national politics, is that logical that to expect that the Cebuanos are going to receive blessings from the national government because Cebuanos voted for BBM?
Well, I'm still trying to immerse myself into the grassroots and talking to different elements of Cebu society. And let me tell you, I'm just a small voice in the woods. But one thing I notice is that there's a certain amount of uncertainty. So there's a tendency for people not to look up, but to look inside. Everyone seems to be concentrating on building their own comfort zone because of this uncertainty. They don't know what the new situation is like. They think of it as a new playing field, and then what they read in the news is no. They think that's all in the surface. People want to know who are the power players, who are the people behind. What's the group of Imelda doing? What's the group of Marcos doing? What's the role of all these other people? And I'm just here. I'm just listening to them, and but I think that. What I feel is that there's going to be a sense of siege mentality, wondering how will their lives be affected. That's why they're trying to develop their comfort zone. And I think at the end, what's going to happen is that the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer because the poor people they don't have a hand to play. They're at the mercy of everyone else. And then you have interest there in the traders, the businessmen, labor sector, the politicians, and people trying to connect, so to speak. Who do you know? Who do you see? Who can we talk to? And I think maybe in a few months things will become clearer.
Yeah,
but it's very interesting.
Yeah, how is life in Cebu? Because I don't know why I'm thinking like this, but is it still the Cebu of Cebuanos, or has it become a Cebu that is so mixed in terms of people coming from different, like Baguio, for instance? Many of my friends who are long time natural born people of Baguio, they're now saying wala na bro, wala nang masyadong taga Baguio dito. Most people are from the lowlands. About Cebu, is it Cebu that is populated by Cebuanos, or have you been mixed up so much already by outsiders, and how has that affected the way of life in Cebu?
I'm asking myself the same question. I'm still in the same position you are. I'm just trying to listen and feel the pulse. No, I'm not trying to be a voice. I'm trying to be a listening pulse. It's very interesting. Some people are not saying what they feel. No, they're cautious. Like I said, they just protect themselves, develop their own comfort zones, seeing to it that everything will be okay. And then, but what they say is not necessarily what they mean. So I'm trying to read between the lines, but I'm getting there.
But what about in terms of business, the economy? Because I remember many decades ago, businesses there were local. But now you have the international airport, you have the Cebu-Cordoba bridge that's been built by the Metro Pacific Tollways Group, etc. Investors are coming in from far and wide. How is this affecting politics and power in Cebu?
I can't answer that question. I'm asking myself the same question. I see it the same way you do, but things are happening, but people are still trying to see how they fit into place. What do we do? Tourism is still dead, and they're looking at other opportunities, and we're just monitoring. People are wondering whatever happened to the Pogos. Are they going to come back? And then there are the traders, and there's a lot of chismes that's going on around the traders, customs people, BIR, etc. People are just trying to consolidate their own situation. I don't think they're really outward looking at this time. They're just monitoring because we're just a pawn in the scheme of things, and they're trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm asking, and I feel that on the other hand, what we have is a society that does not have a consensus. That's why there's all these questions being asked. I think in due time, it's a question of finding out who is going to reach out to the people, how are they going to connect to the people. Right now, there's just a lot of motherhood statements floating around. I really hope for the best for Cebu and for our country. But I think this is not only true for Cebu, but I've been to Negros, I've been to other places, and I think it's basically the same way. They ask me, who's there? Who's in touch? Who's in power? Who should you know?
But Sir Tommy, why is that? Because if there's one thing I know about Cebuanos, and I've seen this in you personally, in your opponents in politics. I mean, Cebuanos are outspoken. They have always had an opinion. They always express their opinion, and they always took a position on matters. What happened? What happened in Cebu?
Well, let me put it this way. I'm just one of them too. I'm just not like to express my opinion anymore.
But why is that?
Well, the reason being is that we don't know what's going on. We can't read the field. It's just like it's a new game. So what's going on? So nobody's talking about they feel they're in control. As a matter of fact, it's the other way around. No one's in control. What's going to happen to us is the kind of question that people are talking about. So, and it's not clear because they're not. There's also an issue of credibility. People are talking. People always try to read between the lines. Does he mean what they say? What does it really mean? Anong agenda niya? Like that's the name of your show, Agenda, and that's what we were trying to find out. What's everybody's agenda? And I think
having said that, Sir Tommy, what is your agenda right now? Because based on the many people I've been talking to, the common theme has been, well, I'll just take care of myself. I will take care of my interest, or et cetera, et cetera. As far as Tommy Osmeña is concerned, what is your agenda now that you are not in the local politics? What are your plans in the immediate future?
Well, precisely. That's what I'm doing. I'm trying, before I open my mouth, I want to listen to everyone. One of my favorite commandments is honor the Sabbath day. Not because I'm religious that really have to go to Mass, but I believe that sometimes you have to stop whatever you're thinking, whatever you're doing, and you just have to listen and put your ears to the ground and say what's going on before we jump into conclusions. And there's a lot to be learned over here. But one thing that I'm very sad to say is that I think some basic issues people have not realized that we have no future in certain fields. Like you're very strong in agriculture, and I can see that agriculture does not really have a future in this country because the Philippines is just the more people who are engaged in agriculture, the more malnutrition there is, the more there's starvation. That's a fact. You look at America, there's only 2.5% engaged in agriculture, and yet the productivity is 6 times more. We buy chickens from America. You know that we're buying from the agricultural products alone from the United States. We're buying $4 billion this year. of agricultural products from the United States. It should be the other way around, but it doesn't work that way. How come? Because agriculture is the nature of the business. If you want to be efficient, it's not there because Department of Agriculture is not business oriented; they're production oriented. It's not the same thing, and the DTI knows business, but they don't like to enter the term of agriculture. So there's this cultural conflict between the bureaucracies. And so what's happening now? We're importing our own fish. The Chinese get fishes from our ocean, and then we buy it from China. Why is it working out that way? I don't really think anyone is attacking this subject. And another thing also is that the people are demanding higher wages. Why not? But there's a major segment. There's a major segment of the poor that the labor sector does not represent, as in the people who don't have a job. And so now everybody has to go to the cities, so the cost of living is higher. In Cebu, people come from the provinces and they have to rent a bed space just to work. It would cost them about 2,000 to 3,000 pesos for a bed a month. Because our policies is such that we don't create jobs in the countryside, and the countryside don't want to reduce wages. They want to increase wages, so more people move to the cities because there's no jobs available in the countryside. There's this kind of dislocation. So many a country like the Philippines, which has wages that's double that of China, has a higher percentage of malnutrition. Why? It's hard to explain, but that's the fact. In Thailand, in Vietnam, in China, they average 2 wage earners per family. In the Philippines, we average, like in Cebu, 1.2 wage earners per family. So, which means average doesn't mean that every family is 1.2. It means there's some people that don't have a job. They can, no matter what you do with the wages, they can't even buy rice. So they've become a burden to society. And there is the solution, according to some people, is to increase wages. I said, my God, this is like a dead end. It's like running on a flat tire is the way you would see it. What are we trying to do? And there are possible solutions for this, but we're not focused along those lines.
What are those possible solutions that you can think of, Sir Tommy?
For example, I would say if you put an export processing zone in a province where there is no export processing zone, give them a 10-year exemption on minimum wage so that the people that don't have to go to the cities, and many investors will go into the province. And it can be globally competitive in prices. If you look at your desk right now, everything is made in China. It's not as if we don't know how to make the pencils and the erasers. It's just that our cost of labor is not competitive. So China, Vietnam, Thailand, they export a lot because they know how their prices are competitive. But anyway, that's one.
But Sir Tommy, if you don't mind, because you're a veteran local government official, doesn't the local government code give the governors and mayors that power to set up those facilities, give tax incentives, and like the 10-year
of course
wage
not.
moratorium?
Of course not. As a matter of fact, national policy makes it harder for the small businessman to survive. I'll just give you a very simple example. Do you know that to get a business permit, if you're a sari-sari store owner, it's impossible because you have to get SSS clearances, you have to get BIR clearances, and the guy can't survive. So how can you force the guy to get the business permit? He's just a sidewalk vendor. You're forcing him to violate the laws. And why are national agencies making the local governments their tax collector? You have to get your fire clearances, and the people are saying, why is it so hard to do business? Because that's national policy. You let the local governments do all the checking and policing for you. And this is very, very counterproductive. Very. The job, for example, of the local government is to generate revenues to make people allow them to make money, and not to be an extension of the fire department or the barangays or the health department. This is not the way it works. That's
Okay.
why it's so hard to do business.
Okay, let's take a quick break for some commercial, and when we return, we'll carry on with this. I want to ask you for other solutions that you can think of, or other problems and solutions that we can deal with. We'll be right back here on Agenda. To the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, and with us this morning is a veteran politician and so now social observer, Tommy Osmeña, giving us insights to his observations in Cebu and about people's lives. Now, Sir Tommy, well, before anything else, allow me to say good morning to your newly hired technical director, Margo Osmeña, my favorite Cebuana. She is in the same club as my wife Karen, who is also my technical director. Okay, Sir Tommy, we were talking about about the national government using local government as their tax collector, clearance, etc., etc. What other present situation or what other things are preventing development or forward movement for local and national economy, in your view?
Okay, just for example, Department of Agriculture. I think in Region 7, they have 2,000 employees. 80% of them are in Cebu City. I think about 70% of the employees in the Department of Agriculture is in Metro Manila. They all find themselves to be assigned in Metro Manila. Now, what are they doing? Planting corn in the islands, the highways? No, I'm just being sarcastic, but it shows you that we're looking at the wrong direction. We have a big part. One of the biggest spenders is the national government through payroll. And it's all being spent in the cities, not in the countryside. Department of Agriculture, they find a way of bloating all of this bureaucrat industry and all these other things. So they don't, the money is not being released in the countryside because the bureaucracy, everyone finds a way on how they can be in Metro Manila or in Region 7 in Cebu City. No one's out in the little towns helping the farmer. Take a look.
Just by placement or by on the mere location of personnel, you can already tell where the department is headed.
Yes, as a matter of fact, what's the percentage of the budget goes to salaries, and where is it being spent? See, I'm looking at things differently. It's being spent in the major centers. What goes to countryside development? Nothing. See? So the consumer base in the countryside is very, very poor. Now, and there's another thing also. when people make an initiative, we focus on tourism. We focus on international tourists. Tourists should come from the locals. It should not come from international. When the local people get together, that's where the national, international tourist comes. Like the Sinulog in Cebu. It's the locals that enjoy it. That's why the international tourists come. If you try to attract only the international tourists, you'll be like Nayong Filipino. No, the locals will not go there. So
But is tourism affordable for ordinary Filipinos? Because you're in the thick of things. What's the feedback?
Yes, the answer is yes, very much so. Yeah, I made the proposal when I was a congressman, and it was geared towards having long weekends. So I started with this proposal that from December 25 to January 1 will be 8 days of no work to allow people to go back to the countryside. Right now, the children are out of school, but mama and papas are working, so they cannot go back to Albay, they cannot go back to Cebu, they cannot go back to Samar. That's one thing. If you tell them, look, during those 8 days, there's no work. This is going to be like Holy Week. In Holy Week, nobody's in Manila. I learned this when I lived in the United States for 15 years. Without the long weekends, Las Vegas will not even exist. Palm Springs will not exist. Not even Disneyland will survive. So they have all these long weekends. Try to visualize a restaurant in Baguio, which you're very familiar with. Easter weekend is full. Come Sunday afternoon, walang tao. You have to survive until the next Christmas or the next year. Now, if you give Baguio 7, 8, or 9 long weekends, not only will it survive, that restaurant will prosper and you'll have many, many people coming up. Right now, it's not happening. And it's very easy to do, but some people are just hard-nosed. People, you can ask the labor unions, can you move May 1 to be the first Saturday of the first Saturday of May? No, it has to be May 1. My God, why not? No, you see, we have all of these sandwiches, and that can spur up the economy. In the States, in the long weekend, you cannot even get a discount to go out of town because everyone goes out of town. And here in Cebu, people come for the Sinulog and they ask for a discount to Sinulog. They say, are you nuts? There's a waiting list. So yes, as a matter of fact, tourism starts with the locals. Then once you have the locals, then the others come. Again, if I were to make just a simple law, let's say All Saints Day, will not be November 1, November 2. It will be the first Saturday of November. A lot of people will go back to their home province to visit.
But that makes perfect sense because that seems to be the way Americans do it. It's always, Father's Day is on this weekend, Mother's Day is on this weekend, etc.
And it works. I mean, it's not my idea. I just say, why can't we do it? People will go back. My dad is buried there in Calbayog. I'll have a chance to visit him. I'll bring the family. And not only that, there are repercussions. There's more than a trickle-down effect because you're strengthening the transportation companies. And then eventually when people keep going out of town, they'll find it very expensive. So they'll end up buying a beach house there in Bohol somewhere, And that spurs up the economy. It'll be locally driven and you don't have to raise taxes. That's the nice thing about it.
Well, for someone who is quietly just listening to people on the ground, you have already given us a plate full of things to consider and to write about and to talk about here on Agenda and in the Philippine Star. And we do appreciate your inputs, Sir Tommy. Thank you for joining us this morning. And I do hope that we will continue speaking with each other on Agenda in the near future.
Yes, and Margot sends her love to you. No? She's very flattered.
Okay, thank you very much. Tayo yung mga samahan ng mga masunurin. Okay, thank you very much, Sir Tommy Osmeña. Have a good day. That's Tommy Osmeña. And we will go for a quick break. When we return, we will go to our final subject matter for this morning or for today, and that is the state of HIV/AIDS in the Philippines. We'll be right back here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, thanking you for being subscribers of Cignal TV, viewers of One News PH on channels 8 and 250, and of course for joining us on Agenda every Monday to Friday. And we do hope you will keep it that way. You can also watch us on YouTube and Facebook. Now, let's go to our next topic, our next agenda for today, and that is to find out what is the state of HIV or AIDS. Acquired immune disease syndrome in the Philippines, because everyone's been talking about monkeypox, but no one's talking about AIDS and HIV, which is here in the Philippines, okay? And for that, we are going to speak with the country program manager of AIDS Healthcare Foundation Philippines, Nenita Laude-Ortega. Miss Nenita, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Sir Cito. You can just call me Nenet.
Okay, Nenette, welcome to the program. And I guess let's go direct to the point. What is the situation with HIV? Because no one seems to be talking about it anymore. You barely read an article about HIV except on AIDS Day, or because there's a medical magazine or journal that features the subject matter.
Actually, the current situation of HIV/AIDS in the Philippines is that we are getting an increase in the number of new cases. It just happened na natabunan siya ng pandemic ng COVID, and then at the same time here comes the monkeypox, although hindi pa siya masyadong pinag-uusapan. But there were actions and strategies taken on the ground by the different stakeholders in order to claim again the focus on HIV in the Philippines. So currently, as of April, we have a total of 1,198 new cases. And overall, from January of 1984 to end of April 2022, we have around 98,000 new total number of cases in the country. And out of the 98,000, there are only 50,000 or 59,000 who are enrolled on antiretroviral treatment at the moment. So we have an increasing number. The UNAIDS describes the situation of HIV in the Philippines as fast and furious. So if you try to look at the records of the Department of Health Epidemiology Bureau, sometime in 2014, there was a 140% increase on the new cases when we started having it from 1984. So that's the current situation. So that's why we need to do our acts together, come up with innovative approaches in order to do a lot of testing for those who needs to be tested, for those who need to know their status, and then immediately link them to care, and particularly link them to treatment, which we call antiretroviral treatment. So that's the current situation in the country now.
How available and how affordable is this retroviral care that is being offered by your group and by the DOH?
Actually, the response provided to HIV/AIDS in the country is a concerted effort. No one can do it alone. So there is a multi-sector approach in dealing with the epidemic in the country, where in the Department of Health at the central level issues out guidelines and protocols through the Department of Health at the regional level. And then this is downloaded to the local government units, which orchestrates the implementation at the community level. Because, we have a devolved government, right? So it's the local government who should be attending to the provision of the services, and they need to engage NGOs like us and our 22 sites that are implementing program on the ground to come together, plan together, develop their strategy together in consonance or in compliance with the guidelines.
But does the devolved system work for or against the control or treatment of the AIDS epidemic? Because if you were listening to my interview with Tommy Osmeña, he was already pointing out that this devolved system is a burden. And I noticed that because of devolution, am I correct to say that if the DOH doesn't talk about AIDS, the NGOs and the people at the local government level don't stand a chance in bringing focus and media attention to the problem?
Actually, a devolved system for health, it actually works, because if we are doing a centralized approach, there are different contexts of the problem at the different LGUs. There are the so-called priority sites wherein there is a fast increasing number of cases. And there are those areas which we need to heighten awareness and education, but not necessarily saying that there are a lot of key affected populations in those particular areas which need intervention.
Okay, so
more
the
commercialized areas and more urbanized areas, that's where the problem is.
Okay, so the help is available.
Yeah.
Is it affordable?
It is affordable. The current situation that we're having right now is that testing or screening for HIV is provided for free in all the testing sites. And then at the same time, if you are found out to be reactive or positive for the testing, immediately linked to care, and the antiretroviral are free. Like, for instance, my organization, through the different 22 sites that we are supporting, once you are tested positive for the test of HIV, we provide the resources for the baseline laboratory so that you will be immediately linked to care. So these are free at the moment, and there is the PhilHealth outpatient package that would be able to support those who are currently on treatment.
When you say support, does that mean money to buy the retroviral drugs, or just laboratories, etc.?
Okay, the laboratory actually, the baseline laboratory, which is a requirement before you are enrolled to antiretroviral, is available in all the government facilities that are providing testing, treatment, and care.
Yeah.
And we do augment those because there's not enough resources at the local government unit and at the different treatment sites. The antiretroviral is provided for free by the government. It is the government who purchases or procures antiretroviral.
Through PhilHealth.
The PhilHealth actually covers the continuing laboratory support, and then at the same time, the antiretroviral. It is covered
Okay.
as well within that package for treatment.
Now, that's for life, right?
Yes, it is for life. Maintenance for life.
You know, because I've been seeing, I monitor what's going on in the realm of AIDS as a journalist, and you know, when you have Magic Johnson as the ambassador for retroviral drugs and surviving HIV, it is inspiring. It sends off the wrong impression that only a Magic Johnson can afford it. So now it's now affordable. It's available in the Philippines now. But in terms of acceptance and people actually going, ay, magpapatest ako, mahirap na. Nadulas ako no isang linggo, magpapatest na. That sort of stuff, okay? Is it, are people more aware and proactive about it?
Okay, we have a concern about getting aware or getting the awareness about HIV. But the question there is, a lot of people are getting the awareness for HIV, but translating this awareness into an actual action to go to right the doors of the testing facility and to get themselves tested is a big question. So we need to do a lot of push, not only for education, but rather innovative approach in providing the testing. So like, for instance, what we're currently doing now, and it is happening everywhere where testing is available, we have groups of people who come to the areas to do community outreach and invite people to come over in coordination with the barangays. We have to coordinate with the barangays considering that we're still in this COVID pandemic so that we are able to comply with the COVID protocol. And at the same time, we are able to provide the services for those who need to be tested. So we go to the place where the services are needed. It's just like saying, let's bring the mountain to Muhammad where Muhammad cannot come over to us. So we come to the place.
Okay, now the question is, who's getting infected nowadays? Because in the early days, in the 80s, you know, they were saying it was the gay community, that it was men to men, and then it became heterosexual, and then it shifted to transient individuals, overseas workers, seafarer. Now, last time before COVID, what really worried me is they were like, tama ba ako, 16 years old, you know, young adults. What's the profile now of the population that's getting infected with HIV?
Okay, everyone actually is vulnerable. It has something to do with the behavior we're engaged in. But currently, our statistics shows that majority of those who are newly diagnosed and are infected are currently male. And these are, majority of them are men having sex with men. Who get tested for HIV and are being linked to care. And then at the same time, your question on the age, with the April 2022 report alone, we have around 20% of those of the 1,198 who belong to the 15 to 24 age bracket. So we're getting younger because the parameter for us there actually is teen pregnancy. If one gets pregnant or a boy gets a girl pregnant. Yeah, it means to say that they're really engaging in unprotected sex.
Okay.
So that's one parameter or one indicator for us that the younger they are very much open to sex, the more that we need to provide them with a comprehensive sexuality education. So we have as young as 15 and we have as old as 70 years old. So that's the current situation right now in terms of the age group.
Okay, you said 20. You said 20% of them are from the 15 to 24 age group. The rest, the 80% of the new cases are older.
Yeah.
And they are predominantly male. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's what's happening? Did we drop the ball on this? Did people start taking it for granted? May gamot naman, no problem. Parang yung mga kaibigan kong mga may hypertension, may diabetes, wag mo ang problemahin yan, Cito, may Lipitor, may Cardis. Sabi ko, tinamaan kayo ng ewan. Pag yung batok nyo pumutok, bahala kayo. Anyway, but did the discovery or the availability of medicine make more people reckless, or is it because there was parang balita ko parang hindi na namimigay daw ng condoms and leaflets and information regarding AIDS?
Actually, we need to heighten our education component, and you are right there that we need to scale up in terms of providing condoms as one of the protection that they can use for now, and combination with lubricants. So what we're trying actually to do right now is the combination prevention approach, wherein we provide awareness, education, counseling, immediate testing on site, and then at the same time, if they are tested positive for the virus, we link them up to care. So it's a holistic or a comprehensive package of prevention, testing, intervention, so that right there and there, we are able to provide the services at once. And your question on why is it that we're getting a high number of new cases? Is it because of the medication? Actually, it's not because of the medication. It's a combination of the different factors. Like for instance, if you are on ARV at the moment and you take it religiously and constantly, eventually you become untransmissible and undetectable. In that case, it only shows, the study shows, according to the WHO, that if you are taking your antiretroviral religiously, you can no longer infect your partner. So that's one of the things which is a good news when you are enrolled on antiretroviral. But it does not necessarily mean that because of ARV, people became complacent and not protecting themselves. We need to heighten our education. That's the point that I wanted to raise here. Awareness and education is really very important. Prevention approaches is really very important, because we used to say that prevention is better than cure. Yeah, so it is less expensive, it is more cost efficient to educate people and offer them the testing, so that once they are tested negative, they remain to be negative all throughout.
Okay. Nenita, is it still killing people?
At the moment, although we are getting deaths, because most of these people has been late diagnosed, meaning to say they came forward to be tested when they're already experiencing a combination of opportunistic infection. You know for a fact that if you have HIV, your immune system goes down and then different infections come in. So it would be a challenge for the physicians to manage if you have several infections. But we are getting lesser death if you are to check on the DOH data.
Okay, well, thank you for all your updates, Nenita, and at least no one can say that we are not doing our part. We must all do our part to make this silent epidemic manageable and ideally something that no longer qualifies as an epidemic. Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you too. Thank you too for having me. And I hope that we would be having more of the media discussion about HIV, so that more and more of the actions will be taken on and more of the community people will be educated. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Nenita. Laude-Ortega, and just reach out. We are just an email away. And let's now close our program today with the blessing, our blessing for the week. It is in a way an Irish blessing, and it goes, may the blessings of the day of this day radiate through your smile, be helpful through your hands, and shine through your heart. In other words, let us all be a blessing as the Lord blesses us. God bless all of you. Please keep it here on One News. I'm Cito Beltran. Have a great day.